So this is Olivia Titus with the Danville-Center Township Public Library and the Bicentennial Committee's Oral History Project. So, for the record, what is your name and your age?
My name is Robert Stephen Spencer, and I'm 74 years old.
All right, and for the record, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
All right, perfect. So, were you born here in Danville, or did you move here?
I moved here in 1979. I was born in Indianapolis.
Okay.
And in 1950, moved to Muncie in December of 55. My dad worked for Ball. We were then transferred to a Ball facility in a Chicago suburb by the name of Mundelein in October of 1962. I came back to Indiana when I was a student at Ball State. I graduated from Ball State in 1972, and I've basically lived in metropolitan Indianapolis since then.
All right. So, when you first moved to Danville, what was it like?
Danville was a very small town, in my opinion. Small town not only in size, I think the population then was 5,000 to 6,000 at the most.
If you want to get a little fun fact, according to the last census, we're only now just at a little over 11,000 people, so small.
Okay, it was about 5,000 to 6,000. It felt much smaller. At that time, 36, if you know, it goes back there, you can actually see you would go into the east part of town, and out there where the new Kroger's is, it's not that, none of that was there. Pence Oldsmobile was.
Okay.
There was a Pence Oldsmobile, but the 36 would go up and go up there, and then it'd turn and go to and it was 2 lanes all the way. It was not 4 lanes. When I first moved out here, it wasn't 4 lanes until you got to County Line Road between Marion County and Hendricks County.
Okay.
It wasn't there. That in fact, it might have been further in to Marion County, and I'm pretty sure it was because the big project initially was from I-465 to just west of 267 in Avon.
Yeah.
And so it was 2 lanes out there. They call it Old 36. That was 36 there.
Right.
In fact, I remember, because there was a little bit of consternation, for lack of better words, that when there were some realtors out there that sold people homes, knowing full well that their homes were going to be
bought up later
were going to be bought up, and they were not going to be able to stay there because that's where the new 36 was going to go. And I can remember watching on TV a couple of the people. They were very, we feel like we got lied to. If I knew this was going to only be here for a year, I wouldn't have bought it.
Right.
But they didn't do it. They didn't do it that way. So that's all.
All right then. So, what were some of the local landmarks around here, in the 70s and everything?
You have some very good ones, local landmarks, and this is going to be kind of strange. Right over here on Wayne Street, as you're turning and you're going to the south on Wayne Street, there are 2 big homes. Those used to be dormitories for Central Normal College students.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And there's one right there, a big one. I mean, it's really big. And then you go down to where Wayne Street and Broadway, and you look, there's another one. But the big one was that one right there going south on Wayne Street. Right. I think it's just almost, I forget what the name of the street is out here in front.
I think out in front of the library here is Marion Street, I believe.
So see, because you're just used to seeing it by.
Yeah.
Yes, if when it goes to Wayne Street, you will see it, and that was an old college dorm because the junior high school, which had been the high school,
Right.
that was a landmark because that actually was the main building of Central Normal College.
Yeah. Really.
Yes,
Great.
and so that's a landmark because in, I don't know, 49, 51, when Central Normal
Shut down.
shut down, having a college in a town brings something to it.
Right.
It brings people. It brings a variety of thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, just look at Indianapolis with IUPUI, Butler,
Yes.
Indianapolis University.
Yes, and see how not too many people know, Butler actually started on the east side.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
there are a few buildings left from the original Butler before it moved up to where it is now.
Okay.
And in fact, I just learned this a couple years ago. There used to be a commuter train from downtown. It would go, in fact, you can, if you look closely, you can tell where it was.
Right.
That went all the way out to the east side of Indianapolis to Irvington. I didn't know they had a commuter train here at one time. And I just, you read certain things and A and B and C and D, I got an answer.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Uh-huh.
And, but if, I don't know if you can see it anymore, but there used to be a commuter train that came down through Danville, and if you go to the park, you can see, at least you used to be able to, a big concrete. That used to be part of the interurban. That's what they called it in those days.
Yes.
And there was a commuter train that went from downtown Indianapolis to out here.
Yeah.
Now, why did it die? I don't know, but you and I both think it was something called the automobile.
Yeah.
When automobiles got to the point that everybody could have one. You know,
have your own car, who needs a train?
Yeah, and that's what happened. Now, are we going to go back? We'll find out.
Right. If you want to know a fun fact about the interurban, what is that little auto repair shop right out here in front of the library? Hackleman's was also part of the interurban. That was kind of like the station that the train cars would stop at here.
Okay,
and
that was like in the terminal.
Yeah, the terminal.
Okay, yes. I don't know. I knew the man that owned it, Hackleman.
Yeah.
He had a couple sons. He had a son that played soccer. I don't know. You know, I don't know whatever happened to him. But yes, I knew the Hackleman. That was Hackleman's body shop.
Yep.
Yes, and that actually was part of the interurban.
Yes.
Okay, so you know,
All
these little
is
things were all part of it, and you could still tell. This is going to kind of sound kind of funny. One of the landmarks in this town actually was the Dairy Queen.
That I can believe. It's so very popular.
Because, you know, we didn't have any other fast food restaurants.
Really?
In terms of hamburger joints and all that.
Right.
There was nothing. I remember when there wasn't the McDonald's wasn't there. I remember when the Hardee's was a burger chef.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a little bit about Burger Chef, but that was
Burger Chef was very popular. It was the name was Burger Chef and Chef did the commercials, but that was it. It was in November of I think '83 when it converted over. Hardee's was in North Carolina that bought Burger Chef, but that's all you had.
Yeah.
There was no other place. I mean, if you put it this way, and there was no McDonald's in Avon either.
Right.
So the thing I'm trying to say is, if you wanted to go out on a Friday night, the Pizza Hut was here, but that was it. There was no place to go.
Wow. It's like Pizza Hut, Burger Chef, Dairy Queen.
Yeah. Now, at that place, if you wanted a pizza, you had Pizza Hut or you had Dave's.
Dave's. I've never heard of Dave's. What?
There's a Dave's out here. It eventually expanded from a carry-out pizza place only. He ended up making a restaurant. I'm not even sure it's in business now.
I don't think it's. Do you know where Dave's was located though? Was it on the square?
If you go out 36, you'll see four little small business buildings. One of those was Dave's. And okay, if you go out there and drive by there, you'll see the sign still says Dave's. I just don't think it's in business anymore. And no other retailer has moved in there.
That makes sense.
Because if you look at, here's the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And then across the street, that used to be the IGA.
Right.
Okay. And then you go past that, you're going to run 3 or 4 little business places. And one of those was Dave's. And so finding places to eat in the evening, there wasn't much out here.
Right.
And so you headed east. Well, when I go to Indianapolis, it's not safe.
Yeah, I've heard lots of those things.
I came of age.
Right.
In Chicago. So Indianapolis doesn't really seem in many ways like a big city.
Yeah, it's
compared to
city.
Chicago.
Small city, nothing like Chicago or any of the big ones.
Yeah. But there just wasn't a lot of that. Now I will say this too, and I'm hoping I'm not getting in anybody's toes. Danville to me, and I didn't realize it right away, but I started thinking about it. In many ways, Danville to me was a very closed community. Okay, I'm saying it this way. I had 3 kids. I lived here on South Wayne Street.
Yeah.
When my oldest son was in 5th grade, my daughter was in 4th grade, and my youngest son was in 2nd grade, was the first time any of them ever had a teacher that wasn't born or raised within 10 miles of this building. Everybody was. The kindergarten, they only hired local.
Wow.
Now, the only reason why that happened then was the lady, I remember her name was Glinda McDonald's, one of the two. She was pregnant, and the doctor, and you're going to understand this, the doctor said she needed to get off her feet. So they didn't have anybody, so they had to hire somebody from outside.
Okay.
Or my kids then would have been 3rd grade, 5th grade, and maybe 6th grade. But they only hired people local. Those of us who weren't from here, we used to make a joke about the fact that if you want to be a teacher in Danville, you either have to have a mother, father, grandfather, or grandmother who went to Danville schools, or you need to be married to a doctor or a lawyer.
Oh, hi.
Because if you look at it, that's where it was. All the teachers, many of the teachers, their husbands were doctors and lawyers. Now, I'm not saying they're bad people, but what I see is a closed mentality. And I know somebody who applied for a job out here. And I guess I should say, because the man's not alive anymore. The superintendent was Henry Cox. I believe this lady. I would never know her to lie. She has no reason to lie. But she said the first question he asked when she applied for a job to teach at the high school, he wanted to know what political party she was. Now, that's against the law. Yeah. But how are you going to prove that?
Right. Unless
because this is not going to be there.
Yeah, that's not going to be there.
And that's what I mean. I know somebody else who moved out here a couple years before I did in 1979. I'm going to say he moved out here in 74, 75. I'm going to assume he still lives here. He had 3 sons. His name is Jim. That's as far as I'll go.
All right.
Okay. We were sitting at a track meet. And his oldest son was an excellent student. He ran track. We were sitting at the high school at a track meet. And he says, you know, Bob, he said, I've lived out here more than 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, and I still feel like a stranger.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, Jim, I know exactly like how you feel because I felt like a stranger. I didn't put it as eloquently as he did.
Mm-hmm.
But I was told by people that if you come out here and you don't join a church, you won't have any friends. Am I giving you the message what I'm saying about me?
Yeah,
I'm very closed. People were nice, but you didn't.
If you weren't like already established here or didn't like do what you said, like join a church or something, it was hard to get in.
I like your word established.
Yeah.
We need you established. When I moved out here, the principal went to Danville High School. I mean, the superintendent went to Danville High School. The assistant superintendent went to Danville High School. Many of the teachers, you can tell, went to Danville High School, or they went to Pittsburgh, or they went to Avon, but they were out here 10 miles away. Nobody from outside. They weren't interested in somebody, well, they're from Indianapolis.
Gosh, I guess I'm lucky things changed. Like, we've been
Things have changed.
Yeah.
There is a man down here, and I'll say his name because he's a good, solid person. One of the persons that started to change the reformation of Danville schools was a school board member named Dave Himsel. Himsel is a prominent name out here.
I think I've heard him, yeah.
Yes. Dave saw that things need to change.
Yeah.
Things needed to change. And he was part of a group of a couple other school board members, and they began to make some changes. They hired us when the superintendent, assistant superintendent, who were both from Danville, they retired. There was another gentleman out here who thought he was going to get the job, but they went out and hired outsiders. And there were a lot of people mad about it. There were a lot of people mad about it. Well, that's not how we do things out here. You know, they would talk, I'd listen. And they hired a Dr. Carnell, and Dr. Carnell implemented some changes. This is 80s,
90s?
89, 90, somewhere in there. And you know, Dr. Carnell had the goal. He introduced the honors classes and stuff like that.
Whoa. Those are like, kind of like, you see those like as kind of a common thing nowadays, but
it wasn't out here. It was at Avon, Plainfield, and Brownsburg, but it wasn't out here. You obviously are educated. I'm going to assume you have a master's degree.
In the process of getting it, but...
1996, Danville did not weight grade point averages. So if you got an A in biology, but you got an A in honors biology, you still got 4 points. Instead of 5 points, like so many schools. I went to high school outside of Chicago. I did not grow up in a wealthy town. I grew up in a very blue-collar town.
Right.
Very blue-collar town. Mr. Polson, the man who lived next to us, he was the maintenance foreman at a factory in Chicago. Mr. Zeman, who lived next to us, Mr. Zeman was Polish. Mr. Zeman worked at the U.S. Steel South Works in Chicago.
Ooh.
Next to him, Mr. Walsh was from the Bridgeport area, the famed Irish enclave on the south side of Chicago, where all the dailies were from. And, didn't mess with dailies in Chicago. And Mr. Walsh worked in the Chicago stockyards. We were a blue-collar town. And but we already had honors courses. My sister graduated in '67 from our high school. You could have already taken honors English, honors biology, honors chemistry. The next year they had physics after I graduated. But you could see they were already 25 years ahead of what they were down here.
Right.
20 to 25 years. Because when my son was going into 7th, 8th grade, I said, "You'll be taking algebra next year." "No, Dad, that's a high school course." I said, "No, you're taking it in 8th grade. You're a good math." And he was very good in math.
Mhm.
And he said, "No, I don't want to belabor it anymore." But change did not come out here and out here. They didn't like change out here.
Right.
And I think it also goes with the fact they did not accept outsiders that well.
Right.
You know, this other man, his oldest son was an extremely good student.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that said it to me. "Bob, I gave you his name, Jim."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I've got here over 20 years and I feel like a stranger." We were different.
Mm-hmm.
Very different.
Right.
There were 3 churches here then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I should say 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Catholic Church has ever had a full-time priest.
Hmm.
Because there aren't that many priests in the Catholic Church anymore right now anyway. Okay. But
Yeah.
the churches were
Christian?
the Baptist Church.
Baptist,
The
yeah.
Baptist Church just used to be right down the street here.
Yeah, I think that's actually where the Baptist Church was. I think there's a law firm in that building now.
I don't know what it is, but it's right down there.
Yeah.
And then you had the Danville Christian Church.
That's been a long time established church. Yeah.
And then you also had the Northview Christian Church. And the Northview Christian Church was actually a break-off of Danville Christian Church that was a power struggle. Worship the Lord, but we still have human frailties.
Right.
I don't know if that makes very much sense.
No, it does.
You know, churches have problems.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's it. And see, and you also had a United Methodist Church, but it didn't seem it was a power broker.
Right.
But the real power broker, from what I could tell, was the First Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And they since have moved, and there's a big, it's south of the high school. And because my son played intramural basketball, they have a gym in there.
Really?
And I think, geez, Danville Christian Church has a gym.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And he told me one day, I said, "You kid?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, but you have to be careful when you shoot, because if you put much of an arc, you're going to hit the ceiling." I said, "Okay, Bob." Okay, my son's name was Bob, too.
Aw.
But it was just who you were. I used to say that, and every time there seemed to be an opening at the elementary schools, the teacher that was hired was either a Danville native family, the daughter or wife of a doctor or a lawyer.
Okay.
And that's really old-fashioned.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, things have obviously...
You know where the new high school is, obviously.
Yes.
When they originally built that, there was a circular area there.
Mm-hmm.
The school classrooms only had 3 walls.
Yeah.
It was an open concept.
Huh.
And my kids would say, "Dad, you're sitting in there and your teacher's lecturing you in English, and across the hall they're watching a movie, and so you can watch the movie too." You know, and but it was cheaper. They built a gym. It had a tile floor, not a wood floor. See, that is old. This sounds very prejudiced, but it's very true. That was the old days when some people majored educational achievement in how much money you didn't spend.
Trying to be...
I mean,
frugal.
Tile floor in basketball. In the gym, tile floor. Well, you could walk on it with your shoes.
Yeah.
Now they have a wood there.
Yeah.
Now, but it was just little things like that. That, I thought, schools. Now, really schools that were 50, 60 years old may have had a tile floor.
Right.
But if you went out to any school that was built in the last 30 years, they had a wood floor.
Yeah. Now
you think, well, it's just that gym floor. It's not just a gym floor. It's a concept of we're still back here.
Yeah.
We haven't advanced onward.
Right.
Now, uh, I remember this building was much smaller.
Oh, yes. We've had like several additions to
Yes.
the library. I think aside from like the first initial building, which was like, built all the way back in 1903, then you had the first expansion in the 80s, and then we've had two more expansions since the 2000s and 2010s.
Well, this way,
Yeah.
that's where the parking was.
Yeah.
And now it's
Itty bitty.
It's now part of the library, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I'm not saying they weren't good people.
Right.
It's just that they were not moving on the rest of the world.
Right.
It's like the world got to the east part of the boundary of Danville and it stopped. Now, it may have picked up again west of here. That I will never be able to tell you.
Okay. Yeah. Now,
I'm not saying you could have, anybody you would have hired outside of here would have been a better teacher. That's not what I'm saying. But what that did was many of the teachers, they were good friends and had been good friends since they were in kindergarten.
Yeah.
With the parents of some of the kids they had.
Right.
So you never felt like they accepted you as much as everybody else.
Right.
Because they didn't seem to be, oh, hi, how are you? And they would, oh, hello, Mr. Spencer. Did you see the difference?
Yeah.
There was somebody they'd known since they were in second grade together. 20 years ago, they'd known me 2 months for my kids. I'm not saying they weren't nice.
Right.
But
there's like formal nice, and then there's
casual
nice.
I will not name, but you'll probably can find people who will tell you, I know who that is. There was a family out here. They were long established in Danville. Long established. And she was a teacher. Well, they had an opening at the high school. Well, her son was in that discipline also. Dr. Cornell didn't hire him. Ooh. They hired somebody from outside. Ooh. And Dr. Cornell, I know what he was doing. And I personally believe this young man, I knew this young man, I think he would be an excellent teacher. But Dr. Cornell was saying we had to break this
status quo
mode of operation.
Yeah.
Their MO.
Yeah.
The MO. He did it. And there's a lot of people that wanted to run him out of town for doing that. There were a lot of people. In fact, you're probably going to be able to, with people's help, figure out who I'm talking about. But I don't live here anymore. And I do know someone in Chicago, in case I
yeah.
But Dr. Cornell, I think, realized we needed, and I think, I'll say it because Dave Himsel's a strong man. Dave Himsel saw that too. He saw that, we needed to break that mold.
Right.
Because when Dr. Cornell became the superintendent, and I forget the guy who became the assistant superintendent, he didn't stay as long as Dr. Cornell. Dr. Cornell brought a lot of changes. And a lot of people didn't like change. People don't like change in any place in the world.
Right.
Okay. There was one person here who had got himself ready. When the superintendent's job's open, I'll be ready for it.
Oh my.
Didn't get it. And I will tell you who it is. Not only did he not get the superintendent's job, they took him out of being the principal of the middle school and made him the assistant principal of the high school. He was about 50 years old. And the principal they put in the high school, the new one there, was only 31 or 32 years old.
Oh.
So it was very obvious looking at him. He was not happy.
Oh my.
He no longer was the principal. It no longer was his building. He ran that building over there like it was his building. And now he's the assistant principal.
Yeah, that's...
it's, what's the thing they say? It's like in the military. If you're the XO of a unit, you're a gopher. The real power is the commander.
Yeah.
You may be the XO, and a lot of times Well, they said it about Obama, and I'm not here to talk about Obama.
Mm-hmm.
They said Obama was the first president that ever used his vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look, there are stories of Lyndon Johnson every day used to go bowling because there was nothing for him to do because Kennedy kept everything in his circle.
Yeah.
Johnson was the vice president. And a better case of that is in World War II, after Roosevelt died, and Truman
yeah.
we came over. One day, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, chairman of the Joint Chiefs came in and gave him a folder. And Truman looked at him. I know nothing about this. They were asking for his approval to use the atomic bomb. He knew nothing about it because Roosevelt and Roosevelt's people had kept him in the dark. Well, now he's the president. He's going to make one of the most critical decisions in the history of mankind.
Right.
Wait a minute. This is what?
You're right.
And you can understand that.
Yeah.
And you have people like that they don't use their second command for a variety of reasons. Some of it is fear. That and I worked for a guy once that if you gave him something to review, no matter how well you wrote it, Shakespeare, you could have given him Shakespeare. He still would have made changes because there's a management theory. There's a management theory that if you step something from a junior went to 100%, you're saying they're just as good as you, and that's not good. And this guy, he'd make 2 or 3 little changes, and at first, you don't quite, but then you quickly realize it doesn't matter. He's going to make a change no matter what because he feels he has to.
Right.
And some people like that. Oh, and that guy I just talked about, I really liked him. He's passed away. But I like him. And some people, a lot of people are insecure. Change scares people. Change scares people. And they don't like change. Right. Unless change, they know, they readily pick up, oh, it's really good for me.
Yeah.
It's not. A small town like this, people will complain, well, why did they pave that street? My street needs paving too. Well, that street over there has about 10 times the
potholes and everything.
And plus it has about 10 times the volume of traffic.
Right.
But my street needs paving. We got a pothole.
Right.
And I saw too much of that out here.
Yeah.
The old Kroger, not the new Kroger. I don't want to sound negative, but there were a couple of times I saw things. There was a thing here with one of my oldest son, and something happened, and he said, Dad, he called me up when I was at work. I said, I think you did the right thing. I said, he did. Oh, what the heck? He doesn't live here. He never comes back here.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Oh, jeez. They fired a basketball coach.
Oh, my.
There were a few parents out here who liked him. He had some success later on at Butler. Okay. But there were a few parents here who really wanted him, and it was, I believe, very strong that the few parents were going to really try to see if we can get him rehired.
Right.
So the athletic director, who grew up in North Salem, he hired the first guy he interviewed. First guy. Now, this guy was the coach at what is now presently Cascade. Okay, now, the job that was going to be open, because there wasn't a lot of turnover, was for a math teacher.
Oh.
How many people get applied for a job where you hire the first person you applied?
I have no idea. Like, I've not been a part of that sort of hiring process, so I have no idea.
But what would you think? Wouldn't you want to see if you got more than one candidate?
Yeah, I mean,
So the very first interview, he wasn't the very first interview, interviewed him, offered him the job. Now, there was a second guy got interviewed, but he was from Cascade, lived in Michigan, drove down here to see if he could just get an interview. He did give him a 10-minute interview, and that was it. Now, put it this way. This guy, no success. The one that was hired, no success. One game, his first year, in the middle of January, Danville spent the last 3.5 minutes of the game with only 3 players. Immaturity. That's what it was. Immaturity.
Yeah.
He got mad, did a couple things, didn't stop and think.
Yeah.
Didn't stop and think.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, we didn't finish up with 3, and you should have heard some of the people, not me. You should have heard some of the people in the stands yelling about this.
I know how big basketball just is here in Indiana. It's just like, oh gosh.
3 players. Now, when this is over, if you want to know how it happened, I can explain it to you. But it was nothing more than this individual being immature. You know, most coaches, if you've ever been, I'm sure since you've been in Indiana, you've been to a basketball game in the state.
Yes.
It's kind of hard not to.
Yeah.
You know, most coaches, they go up and go, time out. This guy was like he's mad.
Yeah.
And then you're out there playing, and I played basketball in high school in Chicago, and it's just as good as the high school basketball here in Indiana. Okay, because people here they think they're the best in the country. That's not. And,
don't let anyone else hear you say that.
When you're out there and there's a guy guarding you, he wants to know why you didn't call time. Well, geez, coach, if I would have stopped to call time, they would have stolen the ball from me. But then when the kid didn't, he'd be out there. And then he yelled at the kid for the first 30 seconds of timeout. Why didn't you call time earlier? Coach, why don't you go? Call time, call time, call time. They can hear you.
Yeah.
But man.
Ooh. Gosh.
He couldn't coach the Pacers to beat Danville's non-existent 6th grade team.
Oh, man.
3 players? 3 players?
That's...
When it's over with, I'll explain to you what happened.
Yeah.
But
that is kind of, gosh, others are saying that's just madness.
You know, and I don't want to say, I met a lot of nice people here that would help you do about anything.
Like, yeah, like, what are some of your good memories, like, Danville? Like, some of the best memories you've had?
Excuse me?
Like, what are some of your good memories, like, some of the best memories you've had?
The kids had some really great teachers. Mrs. Peters, her husband was the assistant principal at the high school, and he made the switch and became principal of the junior high school.
Okay.
And Mrs. Peters was just terrific. I even told her once I would never do that because it wouldn't be fair to the kids at Danville. They need to have you as a teacher.
Oh.
She was really good. My oldest one didn't have her. My second one had her. And then we asked for her for my third one. Oh. She really emphasized reading.
Yeah.
She started something I'd never seen before.
Yeah, I can't fault reading. I mean, I'm a librarian, so I gotta love that.
Yeah. But she started something, my youngest 2, they would come home every day. And maybe it was just something they started here at the school, I don't know. But I saw it with her, and that was just 1 year's difference, where you brought a little book home and you read 1 or 2 pages to your parents, and your parents had to sign that you did it.
Yeah.
And the emphasis on reading she put there.
Yeah.
Best teacher in the school system, still lives here in town.
Oh.
Mrs. McQueen. There is nobody like Mrs. McQueen. If my 3 kids were standing right there, and you asked them, who was the best teacher you had here in Danville? They all three of them would answer within the first second and a half. McQueen, Mrs. McQueen was a tremendous teacher.
Awesome.
And my son just told to me, he took calculus at Purdue, and he said, Dad, I had the best class in the first calculus class I took. He said I was the only non-engineering, non-math student, teacher in there. Everybody else was an engineering or math major. Well, you and I both know if you're going to major in engineering, if you're going to major in engineering, you might as well major in math.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much together. But he said, Dad, Mrs. McQueen had me so well prepared. She cared.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you a story about how dealt with my daughter, how Mrs. McQueen cared. And I'm not saying there weren't other teachers.
Right.
Mrs. McQueen, the best teacher out here. And I'll wait till we're done.
Yeah, I feel like, this, like, you're like talking about her, like, makes you think.
She was and my kids did get, Mr. Klinker, I still think he's there. He's at the high school.
Yeah.
He is a guidance counselor.
Okay.
One night, I lived out there in Old Farm. You know what Old Farm is?
I think so, yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. I lived out there in Old Farm. One night about 10:30, I get a knock at the front door. Of course, I'm a pretty fierce-looking guy, so I went there. Mr. Klinker stopped by to give me a recommendation for my son. He was a senior in high school. He doesn't live in Danville.
Yeah.
He lived on the east side, west side of Indianapolis.
Okay.
Or in the Ben Davis area.
Oh, yeah, I know what it is.
So he stopped and still had to drive home and still come back the next day.
Gosh.
In the morning. But he cared. So you had a lot of good people like that there, too.
Yeah.
But he wasn't from Danville.
Right.
He actually was from Lafayette. And came down here. I know that
so
that
kind of
time,
like you. Like you
at that time, there was a shortage of guidance counselors.
Yeah.
So they got somebody. But Mr. Klinker, if you see him, he was as nice as can be. I saw I'll tell you somebody here. He used to teach, I don't know, do they still teach industrial arts in high school?
I have no idea.
Because
I wasn't out here.
I know they don't teach home ec anymore, apparently.
I don't know if they do or not. They might. I mean, who knows? I think they do teach home ec at Danville.
They do?
I think so, but I don't know about industrial arts or anything like that.
Okay, and they still may do it, they may not call it that anymore.
Right.
But Mr. Foster, Mr. Foster was my son's tennis coach. Mr. Foster is not a tennis coach, but I give the man credit because if he didn't accept the job, I'm not so sure they would have had a team. Because I'm not convinced. They probably could have found somebody, but I'm not sure. He, by taking it, and maybe he took it for them because he wanted the money, needed the money, I don't know.
Right.
But he still had to put his time in. And I applaud him for doing that.
Okay.
The last time I was there, and he even made a comment, he said, Mr. Spencer, I know you know more about this sport than I do. And I didn't know about it. But, he was willing to put the time in to help people.
Right.
And to give those kids something.
Yeah.
And so when you have somebody like that, there were a lot of good teachers. Being a teacher was hard then, and it's terrible now.
Right. Yeah.
I was a substitute teacher because I then didn't live in Danville. Yes, I did live in Danville.
Oh, you were?
I did live when that started. I just realized that.
Oh.
Okay. Because I started as a substitute teacher in 19... Wait a minute. Nope.
Or was it early 2000?
I wasn't. I moved away here in 2005.
Okay.
I started subbing as a teacher in 2008.
Okay.
And I did Wayne and Pike Township.
Okay.
Being a substitute teacher is not easy. I have a plug for them. In fact, I knew several teachers who commented to me that I used to sub before I became a regular teacher.
Right.
He said being a sub is hard.
Right.
For today's kids, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
and you have to show them that somebody cares about them. Because kids
Yeah.
today, I knew I had a lot of kids.
Mhm.
'Cause I was in Pike and Wayne Township,
Yeah, and that's
and
again Indianapolis bigger than out here.
I had a lot of kids out there that I had that were only one parent. I had one little boy at a school in Pike,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned after I had him one day. He said every day after school he goes home. He's in an apartment by himself till 8:30. He was a
Gosh.
fourth grader.
Gosh.
And he even told me at the end of the day, not to be bragging, at the end of the day, he said, Mr. Spencer, I sure wish I had a dad like you.
Oh.
And I felt good and bad.
Yeah.
Good because I know I had reached him. Bad because I know he doesn't have much of a life.
Yeah.
And some of these kids, all they need is for show them you care.
Mm-hmm.
Go up to them and let them know, hey, I care.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. That is really good.
Yeah.
Just have somebody say that to them.
Yeah.
Particularly somebody they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
It means a lot. There was a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people that would babysit my kids.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would say nice things. A teacher, her name is Mrs. Hartung. I know she's retired.
Okay.
She lives out there out there at Old Farm when I lived out there. I was riding my bike one day, and we were just kind of, I went by and I said, I know that lady. So I turned around on the bike and I said, excuse me, I think I know you. And she says, my name was Mrs. Hartung. I said, I taught. They said, yes, you taught it. Yes. She said, you taught it at the South Elementary. He goes, yes. She goes, you are. I said, my name is Bob Spencer. Bobby, Mandy, and Mike.
Yeah.
You know, she still cared about kids.
Yeah.
And if I wasted your time, I'm sorry.
Oh no, not at all. I mean,
it's just that
education
but you have a lot of.
Yeah.
It's obviously somebody who cares about kids.
Yeah.
And not every teacher cares about kids. I'll be the first person to say that. To a lot of them, it's just a job.
Right.
When I was in high school, our college, his name was Mr. Simcox. He was the guidance counselor for seniors. Every day when school got out at 3:30, at 3:35 he was out the door. He wasn't going to put in he at time school's out at 3:30. I'm out of here too.
Right.
You know, this was just a job. And you might have had teachers out here too. But you had a lot of teachers who would go the extra effort.
Yeah.
You had people who would do the extra effort. I've seen a lot of improvements in this town in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, I lived out there in Old Farm. For kids to walk into town to the swimming pool, they either walked out there on 10th Street, which was a narrow road.
Very busy too.
Very busy at Old 10th Street, little one there, it goes in. Now they've built sidewalk. It's safe and everything.
Yep.
Here on, right here on 36.
Yeah.
I remember walking down there and you were partially walking out in the street.
Yeah.
And now they've got a sidewalk and everything for you. So there's been a lot of forward thinking that, hey, we've got a dangerous situation. We've got to do something about that.
Right.
Let's don't take the risk to save a few dollars.
Right.
You know, let's do it.
Yeah.
And when I saw that they were taking them out there in West 10th Street, because my kids would ride their bikes back on that street.
Right.
It's the only way to get into the park. And if you go swimming. Now, what if they don't have what if your kids are 11 and 12 years old, they lived out on an old farm, they want to go swimming. You either walk that back road there, and you were actually on the edge of the street, and you don't know if somebody's coming in not paying attention,
right,
and this or that. Now they've got a sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's a few feet separated from it.
Mhm.
So now you're much more safe. You feel more comfortable
Yeah.
in that. And with kids riding a bicycle, they're not always paying attention. You know that.
Right. Yeah.
You've had a kid with a bicycle pull in front of you, not paying attention.
Uh-huh.
And
I mean,
so there's a lot of good things that have happened
yeah.
out here. I think there's a lot of bad things when areas grow,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of good things when you. I'm a big believer
Mhm.
that when you bring in a lot of, you bring in outsiders, they can bring both bad and good.
Yeah.
Emphasize the bad and try to minimize the bad. No,
Yeah.
emphasize the good,
Minimize the bad. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You gotta take the bad with the good, otherwise you won't have anything.
Yes, but and the world is changing.
Yeah.
I get frustrated. Uh, I can't operate. I can't operate my computer. I still have a PC I use. I can't operate my PC the way my kids can.
Well, if you ever need any help, we do offer services like that here at the library.
Are you the expert that helps everybody?
Not the only one exactly, but me,
But you know what
my
I'm talking
fellow
about.
coworkers, yeah.
You know, I joke sometimes. I say, "Why not turn it on?" But sometimes my son lives in Texas. He went to Danville schools.
Mhm.
That's why with Jonathan, I think we said his name.
Yes.
Uh, my son lives in Austin, and that's why I know a little bit about San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I called him and said, "Mike, something's wrong with the computer." A lot of times I can just talk to him about it. And when I grew up, the solution, everything with the computer was all control delete.
Control delete. Yep.
Have you heard that saying before?
Yep. Sometimes.
When everything else, just hit all control delete and you go back to the beginning.
Yep.
And I have forgotten that, but and I don't. My phone here, sometimes the phone's not working right. Tell me about it.
Right.
And it makes me feel worthless and inferior because of change.
Right.
I haven't grown. My generation, and I believe this, if you start learning things and when you're younger, and you get that into your brain, it allows your brain to pick up new parts of that.
Yeah.
Too. But if you don't have that, it's like this. If you don't have the foundation, forget about building the rest of the house.
That is a very eloquent saying there.
So,
yeah.
But it's just. You understand what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
This is a good, solid town.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it had all of some of the shortcomings of small towns.
Yeah.
Maybe it did. Maybe it was a little bit worse at sometimes. Now, I live in Lebanon now.
Mm-hmm.
I sensed Lebanon at one time might have been this much like it.
Mm-hmm. But Lebanon's changed, and
Lebanon has changed. I think the people in Lebanon are going to be disappointed. There's a monster lily development coming outside of there, and it's going to be. They don't have enough water, and so the state has said we're going to take water from Lafayette, and we're going to build aqueducts and ship it down there.
Okay.
Well, the movers and shakers in Lafayette are saying no. Even the farmers up there are saying, "Wait a minute, you're going to be taking water from our underground here." Because what this means is if we have a big dry period, I'm going to be hurt now.
Right.
And so I think you see what I'm saying. They're saying, hey,
good and the bad.
And Indiana is a very conservative state.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this, but when I lived outside of Chicago, I moved up there from Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people, when I first met them up there, they thought I was from Georgia because I had an accent.
Oh, gosh.
Are you from Georgia? No, I'm from Indiana. Well, you sound like you're from Georgia. And the other thing was culturally, I've read this before. Culturally, people in Chicago used to think of Indiana as the Mississippi of the North.
I've heard that before
You
too.
heard that too?
I've heard that.
Okay, this is the missus because it's so many ways the way Indiana mode of operation every day is
Mhm.
like you see in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
This is not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2002.
How was it still like a 4-year-old? Gosh.
Okay, Evansville Bosse High School,
Uh-huh.
predominantly black,
Uh-huh.
went east on I-64, got off, and went to play at Heritage Hills High School
Mm-hmm.
out there in the area where Abraham Lincoln grew up.
Yeah.
Okay, now when they got off the bus,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what was greeting them?
Nothing good, I imagine.
A burning cross.
Nothing
You
good,
know what you know what the burning cross stood
Yep.
for?
Yep.
This is 2002.
Mm,
What does that say about
you're right.
you grew up in Indiana? I
Yeah.
mean Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So you know where Kessler
Mm-hmm.
goes north and then turns to the east.
Yep.
My brother used to live just a little bit north of there.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 1966.
Mm-hmm.
66, 67. On a sign out there, somebody had painted
Rather nasty things.
so
Nasty things, yeah. Nasty things.
yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And just in so many ways in this town.
Mm-hmm.
In 2003,
Still have a long way to
I
go.
heard somebody say that there was Klan activity in and around Danville.
From from you having how young, that seems like something so long ago. To hear that happening in my lifetime is still.
Every once in a while, I still see Confederate flags.
Yeah.
Now, is that involved with the protest of today, or is it something else?
Right. You don't know.
Oh, I know some people, not just out here,
Mm-hmm.
but in Indiana, who feel that way.
Right.
There are still.
Yeah.
There are people that way. A couple of years ago, there was a lot of Klan activity over something in Minnesota. You know, they're supposed to be so broad-minded and liberal up there. No, there are people that have that.
They're all over.
Yes, and I've known some African American.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I knew an African American lady. I used to tease her all the time. She said she would never date a white guy. She said, "No, I'm not dating a white guy ever." I said, "Diane, your only problem was you just don't want to admit the fact that you're in love with me and I'm just a friend." Oh, I used to tease her.
Yeah.
She always used to say, "Bob, I hate you." I said, "No, you don't, Diane." I said, "Diane, you love me and you know it. You just, Diane, I'll think about giving you a shot." Oh, Bob, get away from me. It was just fun.
Right.
It was just fun. But, you know, I have both good and bad here.
Yeah. There is still good and bad here.
The one thing I would say this,
Mm-hmm.
when you grow up,
Mm-hmm.
when children are not, you want to screw with me, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Leave my kids alone.
Yeah.
And that happens to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that my kids didn't get as fair a shake out here
Mm-hmm.
as they should have had.
Mm.
And I'll say this much. My kids, my daughter lives on the far western side of Carmel.
Mm-hmm.
My two sons, one lives in
You said Texas
Austin,
now, yeah?
one lives in Waco, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They never ask about Danville.
Golly.
Never ask about Danville School. My oldest son, he'll occasionally make a comment, and I don't talk to him that much. He'll say, "Yeah, I see the Warriors beat Tri-West." You know, but besides that, my kids never, ever mention anything about Danville.
Gosh.
Because I think I told you,
Yeah.
it might not have been what they wanted. I know we're getting close to a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, an hour.
It's okay. Don't worry. Like, I appreciate that you've been like talking this much. So this has been a phenomenal interview, and I think
Dude, I thought you'd tell me after 5 minutes I needed to leave.
no, this is like great.
Now, your last name's Titus?
Yes.
Are you in relation to a Bill Titus?
I don't think
Bill Titus used to be
maybe. I don't know. There's
assistant basketball chair. He then went to be the athletic director at Tri-West, then the athletic director at Brownsburg, then the athletic director at Speedway. And I did a little bit with him because I was a soccer official, you know, blind, dumb. The ones say, "Hey, ref, you missed a good game tonight." You know, that people think they're really original in their comment. Hey, ref, you need these? Yeah. Why don't you come out here and see what it's like?
Yeah.
But no, I just put the name Titus.
Yeah.
And there's also a Titus, a very famous place in Lebanon, Titus Bakery and donuts and all that.
I'll have to like check. Cause like I don't know, like at least not in my immediate family, but I might have like say like distant cousins, like my grandfather's cousin now, like they have kids and they're taking Titus. So I don't know. I'll have to check.
But it's in Lebanon, the Titus. I think there might be a couple other ones, but if you go north on I-65, there's a sign about Titus donuts and things like that. Yeah. And they are good. I've been there.
Ooh, I have to check it out because hey, I'm a huge donut aficionado. When I was in Indianapolis, I loved Long's Bakery, so there's a Titus in Lebanon.
You've already said the golden word, Long's Bakery. I live in Lebanon, and I've driven down there at least once every year. I don't walk very well, but I go to Long's Bakery because who has donuts like Long's Bakery?
They're the best. Yeah.
Martha Stewart came here to Indianapolis a few years ago.
Really?
And you know what she went to breakfast for? She went to Long's Bakery, and she even knew to bring cash. I saw it. I saw her talking about it. She says, and I brought cash because I knew. She says, I've got some friends that said, oh, you've got to go to Long's Bakery. And she said, they're good.
Yeah.
Martha Stewart said something nice about anything except for Martha Stewart.
Yep. If it's Martha Stewart approved, then
it's great. When she walked in, I said, Martha Stewart.
Yep.
I looked at Martha Stewart.
It's like Martha Stewart and Gordon Ramsay, the two people you see walking into your establishment. You're like, oh man, this is the real deal. But
she knew about Long's Bakery, and she said she also knew to bring cash. Because there are people I know, if you went to, I would bet you at least once a day, if you went to Long's Bakery there on West 16th Street, you would walk in there, somebody would pull out their card. No, we don't take cash. I don't have any cash. Yeah. And I bet you there's more than one person every day, maybe just a couple. Hey, I got it for you. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't carry cash anymore. Yeah. A lot of people do not carry cash.
There's something that's changed.
I had a big, there in your car, I had on the console there, a big, where you put a drink, and I had it so full of change. So I went to the bank, and I had to clean it up too because it had Coke on it. And they ran it through the machine. But I said, I never use cash. Everybody uses plastic. Yeah. You know, but Martha Stewart knew about Long's, and whoever it was must have been a good friend of hers. You better bring cash because they don't take it. Yep. And she knew that. Yeah. And she did say, when she interviewed, she said, oh, it was delicious. That's amazing. There used to be a Long's on the south side, too. Did you know that? I did not. I never got to that one. Me either. I was mostly stuck to the west side of Indianapolis, and now I'm out here. Oh, I'll tell you something else used to be. Sadly, the square had more retail on it. Yeah. There used to be several little things that are gone. There used to be a sporting goods store. I don't know if it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. There used to be a couple little diners. There used to be a place called the Coffee Cup. Aww. My aunts who moved away from here in the early 50s, when I told them 50 years later, I said, yeah, the Coffee Cup's still out there.
Jeez.
50 years.
Yeah.
But see, those little things like that are gone.
I know like the pandemic caused a lot of like businesses
Oh,
to
you're right.
order.
The pandemic hit a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to say, uh, I know there's a pizza place there on the square.
Ranks, I've been there before. It's phenomenal.
Is it?
Yes.
I lived out here, but I never got to it.
Well, if you ever come back in town again, like you have to try it. I have to recommend their Smockbolic calzones.
Can you get a little small pizza?
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay. I also remember when the Royal Theater was closed,
Yep.
and for many years,
Mhm.
and then a Comer, I forget his first name, Comer bought it and kind of brought it back to life.
And it's still going on today, and it's been doing pretty good.
And I think doesn't he have some specials where he has an oldie but a goodie come back?
I think so.
You know,
Like they actually have like right now like little displays like what some of the old artifacts they found, like old ticket old ticket reels, old film projector
stuff like that.
Yeah.
To look at.
Yeah.
But he kind of said that I don't remember his first name. He had some kids. He's a lawyer. I think he's got a son and a daughter that are in the firm now too. But he saved the Royal Theater.
Yeah.
And things like that where somebody stepped forward to make the town better.
Yeah.
Save something in the town.
Yeah.
And he may be making money on it now, but when he started, he wasn't making money. He wasn't making money.
More the passion than the profit.
He had to go in there and clean it up.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But no. I used to take my kids there. In fact, I remember when that was also was a theater. There used to be a Cambridge County Play Theater.
Yeah, we still have that. They've moved it, but moved the buildings. But yeah, they still have that.
I'm trying to think of the movie I saw there. Oh, Fiddler on the Roof.
I've never seen the movie, but I've heard about the play.
Because there used to be a father.
Yeah.
There used to be a Father John Roof out at the Episcopal Church, and he played Rev Tevye, and he had a real good voice and everything. Ooh. And I took my youngest two kids there. They said, "Dad, that was good." They said, "It really true." But Rev Tevye. I always wanted to visit because that movie was filmed in Yugoslavia.
Ooh, okay.
It was not filmed in Russia. It was filmed in Yugoslavia because Russia wouldn't allow them.
Right.
Yugoslavia would. And a lot of people don't understand. In many parts of the world, and even today, being Jewish in some parts of the world is not easy.
Right.
Do you know the girl that does the AT&T commercials?
Yeah.
Okay. She's from Uzbekistan.
Whoa.
She was born there, but her family, they're Jewish, she's Jewish. Their family fled Uzbekistan, which used to be part of the Soviet Union, because of religious persecution.
Right.
And that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
She's like 30-some years old.
Though not too much older than me.
So we still have a lot of people who feel that way.
Right.
The only person I'm against is IU sports fans. I like them a little bit better, but the people I really don't like are Cub fans. Chicago Cub fans. Please. I said that bad word, I'm sorry. I lived on a street in Chicago, in a Chicago suburb where everybody was a Cub fan, and they always said, "There's that Cardinal fan," as I walk by. And if I see somebody wearing a Cub hat or a Cub shirt, I'll walk up to them and I'll say, "Do you think that would look a little better if it had a red in St. Louis?" Oh no! They know I'm teasing. They know I'm teasing, but I just can't resist. And a lot of them say, "Have a good day."
Yeah.
Don't you think that would be better if it was red and it had St. Louis on it instead of it's just having fun.
I'm here like Indian, and so like we have like a little I think Indianapolis Indians, and like we have like go Colts.
Are you Colts?
A little bit, yeah. And obviously the Pacers. Like we're not as huge on the baseball, like Pacers and the Colts. Those are.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about the fever with Caitlin Clark?
I think it's very interesting. I think it's a very nice little kind of like.
It's brought a ton of interest.
Yeah, I think.
Now, will the interest die off within a couple years? Will the novelty, because she is an incredible player. She is incredible. In fact, I've like a lot of people, I wondered how she would be accepted.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a good shooter.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, she's a phenomenal passer.
Yes.
I mean, then you see her just look and somebody, and she'll bounce it between two people.
I know, she is
an unbelievable passer.
Yeah.
But, will people get tired of it?
Well, I guess we'll see.
We move on.
Yeah.
I used to live in International Village Apartments in Speedway. And I lived back in there. And during May, I would see a man get out of his orange Chevrolet station wagon. His name was A.J. Foy. Back when he was the race driver of the world.
Yeah.
And I saw him many times. And he would look, he would wave at you, but he never stopped. He walked in because he knew if he ever stopped, he would never get people would stop to come see who he was.
Yeah.
But I saw him many times. And,
that's cool.
It was just it.
Yeah, you've lived quite a storied life.
Well, not really. It's just I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. When I was 10 years old in Muncie, I lived on Wheeling Avenue, and we went home for lunch. We had a school bus, went home, and it picked us back up. We had about 20 minutes. Of course, mothers were at home in those days.
Yeah.
More. And we were there getting on Wheeling Avenue to go back to, I went to Emerson Elementary in Muncie. And they said, okay, they're blocking it. That who paid any attention when you were, I was like third grade, who paid any attention? I was fourth grade then.
Yeah.
Who paid any attention? And so I was just walking in the street, and just all of a sudden I look up and there's a lot of excitement. And some guy with perfectly combed hair, big white teeth, waved at me. His name was John Kennedy.
Wow.
He was waving, he's a politician.
Yeah.
And just happened to be, he looked at, I waved back. I didn't know who I was waving at.
Like I said, you have such a storied life.
Then we got to school, and the teacher talked about us a little bit. My older sister went down to his rally, not because she was Democrat or Republican. I'm not talking about that.
It's a big person here in Indiana.
It was somebody here in Indiana. That was back when Indiana wasn't one party like it is today.
Yeah.
And he was trying to win the Indiana votes. And so her ninth grade class, they went down there on the courthouse there in Muncie to see him. And she said he walked about 20 feet from us. And, you don't realize that when you get older, that's an event.
Yeah.
John Kennedy.
Yeah.
Not this guy, John Kennedy.
Yes.
And it just shows us how things are different.
Yeah.
But we don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
I can tell you something else about it. Was out here. There was only 4 channels.
Oh, gosh.
When I first been out there was 4 channels.
Now we have thousands.
I can't count that high.
Yeah. There's a lot of change.
No, but I did see a lot of things. I remember the library here. I remember when the Baptist church was built the one out there, and they moved. Now there's some parking down there now.
Yeah.
I remember when South Elementary, my kids went there. In fact, I coached Little League basketball there a couple years and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And the parents came out. The parents came out here and supported their kids.
Yeah.
And, for a lot of those kids, I was fortunate. My kid's son was going to make the 7th and 8th grade team.
Yeah.
But for a lot of kids, and they didn't have intramurals at the high school there, or at the junior high school.
Right.
For a lot of these kids, this was going to be the only basketball they probably ever played.
Yeah.
maybe in college, murals.
Yeah.
But, on Saturday, we played games on Saturday mornings.
Yep.
And Monday night and on Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
There would be a lot of parents there. Some of those kids were pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of those kids could barely dribble basketball. But their parents were out there
supporting
their
them.
kids.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of that here.
Mm-hmm.
You had, I don't know if a kid I ever coached there, and I
Never.
coached in the league for 3 years, that you didn't have at a minimum one parent at every game they played.
That's good.
There was that.
Yeah.
There was a spirit of supporting our kids here.
Yeah.
And that's for. I don't know because I don't live out here, and things have changed. But I know when I first moved out here in '79, those first couple of years, when they played football games, tremendous crowds.
Yeah, huge. That still brings out quite the crowd.
I don't know what it's like today, because I don't. And plus the fact is, today you compete with television, and starting this fall, every Friday night there will be a Big Ten game on TV.
Yeah.
And some people will say, nah, I don't care.
Yeah, but...
Now, I'm one of those people that if I drive by and I see something, whether it's my kid or not, I like to stop and watch, just to watch kids.
Yep.
And in fact, I've stopped by up in Lebanon. The girls' regional was held there in tennis, and the final match of the doubles competition part of it, and it was who was that? Westfield and Guerin Catholic were playing each other, and I got out and I stopped and I walked over there, and I don't walk the best, and I kind of sat on the bleachers that wasn't that close, but I had an unobstructed view, and I could walk easier. Next thing you know, a lady came up to me and said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "Yes." "I don't remember your name." And then she daughter had played number 1 at Lebanon, and she said, "Well, I was just driving by and I saw these people playing, and I decided I wanted to watch, and I saw you here."
Oh.
And I said, "That's what I did. I just couldn't help it." She said, "I'm the same way.
Yeah.
If I see something, I stop." And so, and I saw people out here.
Yeah.
And I mean, when my son's 8th grade team won the county tourney in basketball, they got a police escort with the siren into town.
Oh, that's fancy.
Yeah, and so, and there were people, saw him come in and waved at him and everything.
Yeah.
Make kids feel that happens in big time.
Yeah.
But it just, there's that kind of spirit. And, the police, whoever the police, whether it was a patrolman or the police chief or whatever, little things like that make a difference.
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming for about like an hour and 18 minutes. Gosh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't apologize. This has been wonderful to hear, and I would like to thank you for your time.